See you live on Real Radio.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us on a Saturday morning. Every Saturday, reserving time for us means the world. Thank you very much. We offer you in return 2 hours of infotainment. Thanks for being with us. Maybe you're on the radio, 92.1, 101.7. We salute you. Worldwide, if you use your free download your iHeartRadio app. And of course, you can live stream with us. Cameras are set up in the studio. Go ahead and do that. Find us, Florida Talk Real Estate, not only at .com, your one-stop real estate shop, but you can find Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook, live streaming for you on a Saturday. Hello, everybody. And on YouTube as well, that's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC, home of a ton of informational videos and a live stream on Saturdays. Good morning to you as well. Thanks for being with us. And let's start off by saying good morning to our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy. That is the first voice you hear if you dial up our toll-free number, 877-927-6969. If you want to be a part of the program, you say good morning to our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy. How are you, my friend? Oh, thank you very much. I am your boy, Johnny C. Air Traffic Control. Your starting lineup on a Saturday consists of the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, my friend Mike Brown. Nice to see you, Mike.
Nice to see you, brother. Great to be black, but geez, great to be back.
What I'm talking about.
Great to be back. Live in studio. Yeah. I feel like it's been a while, but it's just a couple weeks.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how like 2 weekends can feel like
a month? Doing this so long now, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, true.
If you're not doing it, it feels weird.
It does,
right? Like, what do you do on a Saturday morning when you're not here?
Well, really, whatever you want. But yeah, exactly right. It feels like no, usually not.
Does it change your Friday night?
Oh, dramatically. Yes. No, I'm kidding. You know, I've come in here many a Saturday like, oh, Mike, too hard last night.
Oh.
Too hard.
He's like, yeah, it's never been a problem.
Never been an issue. Yeah. Let's also say good morning to our fearless leader. 11 plus years, I've told you, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. At Keller Williams Innovations, you find the Florida Home Pros team. And my guy, Jim DePola. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, guys. Thank you for allowing me to take those 2 weeks off. They were so much needed for me. I was so burnt. So
right now, there are people going, "You're off."
I know. Actually, we were getting live comments from some of my personal friends on last week's show, giving us advice on stuff. And
what were we running?
Last week. We ran where C. Ron Allen and the Knights of Pythagoras Mentoring Network was on.
Okay.
So we were talking about.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, what's going on?
Get into your mic a little bit more.
This stupid mic. I was gonna say something about this. What is the useful life of microphones in this
Pull
studio?
the arm up a little.
You can't.
No, the arm.
It doesn't work. Watch.
Yeah, it will. Don't fight me. Okay. Just do it.
I get cranky about this. This camera, this stuff. I have to like screw it all together.
I know. If I can't hear you, nobody can hear you.
It's true. I couldn't even hear myself.
Okay, good.
Okay. But thank you, John.
Thank you.
The pro, right? The pro over here.
Something.
So what happened was the first week we were gone, I was so happy. It's like the night before. It's like, wow, I don't have to do show prep tonight, right? I was like so happy. Woke up about 9:20 in the morning. I'm like, wow, I'm supposed to be on the show today. I was like, all happy.
Wait, did you freak out? You're like supposed to be on the show?
No. I was like
knew.
enjoying. I was just enjoying that I had the day off.
When's the last time we slept in?
I know. And then, exactly. And then last Saturday, all itchy.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I can't believe we're not doing the show 2 weeks in a row. And I'm like, but I really need this because I was so slammed at work, which we'll get into the shout outs in a little bit. A lot of crazy stuff, but all good stuff.
Good.
And but anyway, I was so glad to be back. I'm so happy to be back. There was so much news that happened. Want to tell everybody right now, if you have any questions about insurance, okay, I throughout the week, what I do is I read just tons of everything, right? Like you do, Johnny. Sure. I know you do that too.
Yeah.
And then I just save everything, and I have this little thing in my email box for the subjects, and I go show prep 2023. And then that way, when I want to find the articles, there's a couple of dozen articles every week, I can start reading them for real.
At least you know it's in that pile.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
So there was just so much being off for 2 weeks in a row. And more than a third of it was homeowners insurance in Florida. And it's just crazy town. And that is going into total crisis, DEFCON. Is DEFCON 4 or DEFCON 1? What is it? I forget. I think it's the higher numbers.
I'm going to yield the mic on this one for some reason.
Yeah, who knows what?
I think it's Yeah, so DEFCON 1
so
would
this
be
is
like
DEFCON 1.
World War III.
Here it goes.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we're almost DEFCON 1. We're like DEFCON 2, what would it be? 1.1, like almost 1. Yeah. So we're going to hold all that until next week when Ross Camaronez from Brightway Insurance comes back.
No, it was intended. Yeah, for farmers. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it was
I
intended.
didn't catch that reference. I didn't catch that one. See ya, bye-bye.
We are out of here.
You know, it's interesting. Like, I know you don't want to talk about it, but farmers, I don't think farmers has been in our market for several years. South Florida.
Oh, South
So
Florida.
when they say they pulled out of Florida, there's a lot of Florida that isn't our part of Florida as far as,
I think they said it's 100,000 people impacted. And if you're one of the 100,000, I am sorry, but they're not writing new homeowner, any of the umbrella coverages. No, not even auto insurance.
Right. They're not even doing the auto and stuff. And on top of it, but it's so complicated, right?
Airlines are always very deceiving.
Well, that's what I was to say. If you read a little deeper, there's like this one sentence in one of the articles I read about that where it said the parent company has like 9 other insurance companies that are still heavily involved in Florida. They're just pulling out that little segment. So it's like to make it sound like, because everybody thinks farmers is gigantic.
It's 100,000 people affected. Which again, if you're one of them, I'm sorry, I'm not downplaying it, but it's not like a sweeping.
And as far as it's a little bit sad because as far as insurance commercials go, farmers weren't that bad. Right. They're relatively right.
Yeah, he was.
I'll still see them.
I think you'll still see
them. Okay, they'll still be running them.
I think so.
Okay,
because those are national ones, right? I mean, more times than not.
No, they don't. They place them regionally to.
Oh, that could be. I think I'm watching them on like cable channels, so I think everybody sees them. I don't know how it works.
I don't know either, but unless it's a Super Bowl or something.
No, I'm pretty sure cable commercials. I think you can
market
regionalize
specific.
It.
Yeah.
Sure, you can get your little few regional or locals on national or cable channels, but I always thought some of those buys were just blanket buys.
You probably know more about it than I do. Okay, so we're still going to.
I know nothing, by the way. So.
I was just saying, if I was ranking like the impact of the commercial on your life, some of them. There's one company that I loathe because when I watched my mom's dog when she travels, I watch her dog. When those commercials hit, the dog goes crazy.
Oh, what commercial is that?
Can I say?
Sure. It's
the shoot.
You're not saying anything bad about the commercial. Your dog is.
Dog is. Yeah.
What I'm saying. This company, and there must be other things like this. There must be some high frequency that hits that they play on this commercial to get the dog's attention to make it bark when it goes right. So it's like you remember the commercial. So I feel like I'm being manipulated. That's part of it. But it's what's the emu? The
emu.
They have a whole series.
Yeah,
they have a whole series of commercials. Yeah. It doesn't matter which commercial it is. So Liberty Mutual has some frequency that my mom's dog picks up on.
Even if it's the one
on the pier, all of them. Yeah, absolutely.
They advertise.
Yeah, and the dog goes crazy, and I was like, "Well, let me mute it." No, well, I guess if I mute it, it doesn't do it, right? But it didn't. It does. I did a test, and it didn't matter which commercial it was. It was that, and it wasn't their like call letters or anything like that because it happens before any of their stuff. Yeah, it's some high frequency that must be playing, and then it's a theory, but I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Because how else would she react like that? It's crazy.
I think I definitely think that. I was listening to a YouTube video recently, and I heard this thumping noise behind, almost like a deep bass thing. There was no music.
Did you say bass?
Like a deep bass, I said bass. I did say bass. Yeah, I'm a musical guy.
He's phonetically working.
So
I'm a bass player.
Yes. I should say that to people. What do you do for a living? I'm a bass player. So what ended up happening was
I'm going out to Lake catch some baits.
What ended up happening was I shut it. I listened to it. Then I listened to something else that was gone. I listened to another thing. I heard that noise again in my headphones. And then I was like, I think this is like built into the video. And I noticed it was the same channel or something. So I kept looking at the same channel, like to see. And it had this like thumping noise that was embedded in every video, and it made no sense. So it had to be to catch your attention or keep your attention.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something to that, just like a jingle, right?
Yeah,
like something.
Yeah.
And they must be doing something. If the animals get reacting, it makes it memorable in some way. I don't know why it's this insurance company, but there's something happening.
So it has, and I don't know the science of it, but there's some science about the like different tones and sound levels for when you're listening. So like they're trying to captively keep you involved in that video,
Yeah.
Or even with audio, if they're trying to captively keep you there, there's some science into like tones, like even if it's just music lightly in the background. I don't know all the specifics of it, but even in radio, it can get used. If you pay attention, if you listen, you're like, oh, you hear that little bed in the background? Like it's low. There's an actual science.
There's research that says this is something that could
and keeping you listening
do something,
longer, right?
have some positive impact on your goal. Exactly. And of course, who originated that was probably the casinos, right? Like they say that when you walk into the casino, the what do you call them? The roulette machines are all playing the same like tones, right? Yeah, either major chords or.
When I go to Vegas, if I'm going to Vegas, I'm going to Vegas, right? So I'm usually there 7 days, 9 days, right? I don't do the 3-day trip because I feel like I need a day and a half just to be there.
Sure.
Just to get back
just
even.
to get into it, and then I'm like, yeah. No, I'm always pretty good about that. I do gamble, but I'm not like a crazy gambler. But I've been very lucky with that. But the thing is when I'm there and I leave, I hear that sound you guys are talking about, which is basically the cacophony of the slot machines and everything. And they have the same in every place. It sounds exactly the same. I hear it for days and days and days after I leave. It's just I hear it constantly. It's in my head all the time. Yep, there it is. And that's what my head sounds like for Vegas.
Yeah, they're playing like
afterwards.
C's and E's and no flats, no sharps.
Oh, and then counting to 21 in all the different ways because I play a lot of blackjack, so counting to all the different ways to count to 21. Like I forget about what is it? Not 7, 8, 9. What is it? 6, 7, 8 is 21 or something like that. I forget. Yeah, but not for
6,
card
7, 8 is 21.
Okay, yeah. So like there's all these different combinations for 21.
So you're like total blackjack.
Oh yeah. So when I'm sleeping, I count. I dream of the cards and counting like what's 8 plus 3 plus 5, stuff like that. It's crazy.
Just so you can rapidly when you're on the table, just know where you're at.
Yeah, and that part's true, but then it doesn't shut off. It doesn't shut off, right? So even when I'm gone and I'm not playing, I'm still the numbers
still running through your head.
Yeah. And now you know why I don't live in Vegas because I like it too much. Vegas, I like too much.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good one.
You don't want to look foolish at the blackjack table.
Most important one.
I remember during the first boom, I came so close to buying a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo on one of the new towers over there. At the time, and it was like
in Vegas.
Yeah, it was like $170,000 or $250,000, and we thought we would turn it into a timeshare kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is like 05. 04, 05, right at the peak, right? And we almost did it. And I'm so glad because all those buildings fell, right?
Really?
Yeah, it's just like down here, it just collapsed. You couldn't give them away. And I was so glad we didn't put our money down because we would have had to wait to be built. So it would just been poof, gone. See you later, right? Which would have been worse than going to the table. Should put it all on black. I better chance. Yeah. But anyway, enough about Vegas. We got so much to talk about today. So
here's a good reset. Florida Talk Real Estate, not a gambling website. We don't talk about commercial and manipulating minds. What we do is put together a team of pros. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com is your one-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, and share it. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Okay,
so we've got a lot to talk about because we haven't talked to Mike in a long time. Mike, has it only been 2 weeks for you?
Yeah, I was here the week
before. You were here the last week?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the things we got to talk about is interest rates, and not good news. We hit a yearly high for interest rates this week. Very depressed about that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about inflation and the difference between national inflation, which is getting pretty good news, in Florida, which doesn't have such good news about inflation. We're going to talk about the 11 most underrated towns in southern United States.
Most underrated.
Underrated towns, and one of them, maybe two, are in Florida. I don't agree. So we'll talk about it.
They're overrated?
You think they're over or like rated perfectly?
Yeah, I think they're rated perfectly. Okay, well, we'll talk about it. You know, everybody got an opinion. We're going to talk a little bit about student loans. Since we've been gone, there was a big announcement that the United States Supreme Court shut down this effort from the Biden administration or whatever to do student loan forgiveness. That is going to create a big headache for more than 40 million people, maybe as much as 100 million people. And there's a program that Florida Talk Real Estate has been pitching for 9 years or 10 years now, where we've helped hundreds of people with this program. And we told you all the time while you're waiting for this big announcement of the Supreme Court, what are you waiting for? Just come to us. We'll get you a free evaluation. We're going to talk about a little bit about that.
It's so valuable.
Yeah. And we might get into and then another thing I want to talk about is a big prediction I have. Texas has just passed a bill, signed into law now, about homestead exemptions, and I find it to be very interesting. And I'm thinking that Florida is going to follow suit. Might be wrong. We'll see what happens. But, you know, it seems like Texas and Florida are like the twin sisters of the United States right now. You know, between those two governors, they have this love fest. So it'll be very interesting to see if this homesteading stuff,
love fest.
Right?
Yeah,
Well, it
good.
is.
That's
Right?
good,
So it'll be interesting if they take that idea from the Texas legislature and bring it over to Florida. And it might be a very good thing for home residents, because I got to tell you, what I'm reading in the papers, it's positive for homeowners in Texas.
It just seems to be working, I guess. Huh?
Well, it just started, so
Right.
who knows? They just passed it, but it is a big, significant relief to homeowners out there, and I think it could be helpful here. So let's check it out, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
And Texas is one of those states too where there's no state income tax, right?
That's let me see. I don't think so. Let me see. It's Florida.
I know. I asked
It's
like a
Florida,
leading question.
Nevada, Tennessee. It might be Texas. Florida, Nevada, Tennessee, Texas. Yeah, because that's why the people are moving to California.
So weird to see the states.
Does not.
There's one more. Florida, Texas, Tennessee.
Why is it always the ones that don't rake in money that find more ways than not rake in money?
I wish Jared Perry is here right now.
Well, but they do get property tax income.
I know.
And the sales tax is probably higher than other states.
Oh yeah, it's for sure higher than other states. I covered that as a reporter. So what we've done is we've traded income tax for sales tax. And
we have?
Yeah, that's a decision we made a long time ago. Instead of having income tax, we decided to use sales tax as the ways to generate the majority of our money.
Got to be at least national average or lower, isn't it?
You know what? I don't know what the other states
Florida,
are. I remember Virginia, I think when we moved down here, was in the 4s, and Florida was in the 6s.
Yeah,
I think we're in the 8s now. I haven't really covered. I think 7 or 8. But the other thing is, Florida doesn't offer as many services as other states. We have a smaller budget in some ways. Oh, go ahead. Do you?
What was your list?
I was going to say around 7.
Oh, no, but rattle them off. I want to see what you missed.
Okay. So Florida, Tennessee, Nevada. I think it's Texas, and I can't remember the other state.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
It's Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming.
State of Washington, no
State of Washington. Tennessee's in there, yeah, right before Texas.
Totally.
Washington State.
Washington State and Wyoming. Hey, shout out to my pops.
Totally moving to smoking. So that's where I'm going.
Really? I live pretty close to there.
Yeah, I thought they milled you every way possible there. I love their government.
When we left.
Can you handle the weather over there?
The Pacific Northwest?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Kind of where I grew up.
No, I know you're from that neck of the woods, but do you like it?
Wow.
Oh.
So you don't mind it raining 267 days straight and then you have a drought? You don't mind that? Oh yeah, it does. That's the year we left. That's when we packed up our bags.
You know how many days straight you've had a rain here?
You know, the drizzle rain. We're not talking about hard rain. We're talking about mist rain.
Just one?
Yeah, we missed a day.
I've had it every day. Yeah. Did you know we were having a hurricane last night about 5?
No, but I do know there's some big
Western County?
East Coast thing because I had Tiffany was supposed to fly out this morning. It like got canceled. And from what I understand, a lot of flights on the East Coast got canceled.
Oh,
Because of some storm.
I drove home in a hurricane.
Me too.
Yeah.
Jupiter. I was going from Jupiter to Royal Palm. Oh my gosh.
It's insane.
Yeah. The visibility was maybe 2 car lengths.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I got a little worried. The wind got so strong. I was on the turnpike. The wind got so strong. I was wondering if I got into the right gust.
Jim, I've never been the guy to pull over on the side of the road and hit the hazards on.
Mhm.
There was a couple times where not only the visibility is so low, but I was getting the wash up where I had no visibility.
Right.
And you're going
Exactly.
way too fast for that. Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, man, is this the day? Do I break this seal?
It's
Did you
right
pull it
around
over?
5 o'clock. Right?
Okay, yeah.
It was right around 5 o'clock.
It was like 5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even think it rained that much. We're in. I mean, we got some rain. I was at home pretty much all day yesterday.
It was pretty.
Insane.
It was pretty bad.
That was like Wellington, like Worthing. You were in Jupiter?
Yeah, Jupiter to Royal Palm.
Royal Palm?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were coming to me. I was going to you. Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. I wanted to go over. Well, let me see. Let me start off with something different. We're going to start off with a couple of fun things first. We're going to do the shout outs after the 9:30 break. So let me know when we need to do the 9:30 break. Okay. Because the shout outs have a lot of teachable moments in them. It isn't just us puffing up our chest and going, hey, congratulations. There's a lot of teachable moments in there I thought would be interesting.
Awesome.
So we're gonna take and it's also talking about the market. So we're gonna hold that to the next half hour. But a couple of things I wanted to do. The BLOB, remember the BLOB?
The BLOB, yes.
Yeah, the BLOB, it's gone. Okay, the BLOB is gone. Yeah, that whole
The sargasm.
The sargasm. Yeah.
Sargasm.
Where did it go?
I think it just contracted.
It did, but I've been living. Yeah, I don't see anything on the beaches. I watched them clean up a couple of times in Jupiter. There's nothing happening. I know just because it isn't in my area, it doesn't mean that it's not somewhere, but it has really sunk pretty low. And it's at one point, it was larger than the width in the United States. Can you imagine? By a lot, because the United States is about 3,000 miles wide, if I'm not mistaken. And this thing was 5,000 miles wide.
Yeah.
So anyway, it doesn't look like it created as much problems as everybody was expecting, which is nice. It didn't really impact tourism.
Which is great.
Yeah, it didn't sound like a lot of people got sick. Another great thing.
So there was the flesh-eating bacteria scare.
Yeah,
There's a lot of headlines about it.
there was.
We've been to the beach a lot this summer, and it's actually our preferred beach has become Ross's neck of the woods.
Yeah,
Juno Beach. Just really nice up there, and of course the kids love fishing off that pier, and it hasn't been that bad, Jimmy. So you would see like some days you would see it floating around in the water. Maybe the water's a little hazy because of the sargassum, but yeah, it wasn't really terrible.
Yeah, it hasn't really been bad. So so that was a good thing. So that's good news for Florida.
great news.
Here's another thing. The whole Burmese python stuff that's happening in Florida where they're taking over everything. They just got a record. They got a Burmese python caught here as long as a giraffe is tall.
It sure is.
Right?
That thing's massive. You see the wrestle, the
19
fight with
feet.
that thing, the 3-minute fight with that thing in the middle of the road.
Is that crazy?
You see that?
Yeah, I
That's
did. Is that crazy?
Yeah, this thing's a monster.
19 feet long. And
Some conceptually, I can picture 19 feet much better than how long a giraffe is.
yeah, I know, me too.
Like,
exactly.
it's as long as a giraffe is tall, and I'm like, well, how tall is a giraffe? I don't know. How long is a piece of string, Johnny?
That's a total.
That one right there.
That's a
About
total
19 feet.
journalism thing.
Right.
Journalists, they're taught to
Right.
to put things in perspective.
Right.
So
Just perspective that
But
we might
some- it
use
was
on a
pretty-
daily.
Yeah,
would
I
be
think
something you
that.
can
they could have
actually
figured-
conceptualize.
Right.
yeah, can't you think of something else that's 19 feet tall that isn't a giraffe that could be more relatable?
Two-story building.
yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
like a few days before that, what's his name? Cowboy Curtis, or was not Cowboy Curtis? That's Pee Wee's Playhouse.
I was gonna say I could not pull what that was.
No, that's Pee Wee's Playhouse. What's his name? The
MMA guy?
no, Cowboy. What's his name? He's a local dude, reptile hunter.
Oh, I don't know that guy.
Dano had him on a bunch of times for all you old Love Doc heads. He caught one with like 60 eggs in her.
Wow.
You see a picture of that?
Boom.
Oh, those 60 eggs out laying next to that big
I
mama.
didn't know they
is
had that
freaky.
many.
Does it
That's
get a bounty
crazy.
for each egg?
I don't know the answer to that.
There was a science article I read where they're
Cowboy Curtis.
autopsying the pythons, and they're finding out that now they're like merging with other species or something, or they're not really Burmese pythons anymore. It's like they're creating their own like species or something.
Times are
It was
tough
so
out there.
weird.
Jurassic Park, here we come.
Yeah, I know,
Beggars
it's
can't be
great, right?
choosers.
So for
We'll start
everybody,
flying.
everybody that always made fun of me and my wife because we'd watch like Piranaconda and stuff like that, right?
Sharknado.
Yeah, you know what we're doing? Prepping for the future.
Right.
Who's laughing now?
Pythonado.
Clowns.
Yeah,
Here it comes.
It's going to be the
was
combo of the python and the giant snail are going to make something.
Hey,
But
exactly.
Think of
the
a name
African
for that.
snail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they could just go around and eat stucco all day.
So those things eat everything in sight, and I didn't know how much money you could get for this. That annual competition, people get paid from $1,000 to $10,000 for catching those things, right?
That's-
For the state competitions where they go out there and
That's
try to find
substantial.
them. Yeah. $10,000 payday and go romp around in the Everglades. Some people,
But
that's
you
like
watch that video. You want to do that with that 19-foot python? I don't care how much you're
I
paying me.
know.
I don't want to be at the
I know.
fierce end of that thing. I don't.
know. It's
I don't know.
crazy. It's totally crazy. But
I'm not a snake guy at all.
But even watching the alligator, I went on a couple alligator hunts as a reporter and watching that could get pretty dangerous too, believe it or
Sure.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
877-927-6969. If you'd like to be a part of the conversation, you're more than welcome.
I remember watching the what is it, Swamp People or whatever.
Oh, shoot him!
And
Shoot
the
him,
husband,
Elizabeth.
the husband and the son were in the boat together, and they've been on the show a long time. And the father shot the son in the face twice when he was trying to shoot the alligator. Both times, like one time it hit the head and it bounced off, and the shrapnel hit him. And the other time he just wasn't aiming at the right. He pulled the trigger a little too fast. He shot the kid twice.
This is on the show or
Yeah,
off
on the show. And the kid was like, they were pellets, more like pellets, but the kid was they had to go home, and like the mom had to
Fuck 'em
cut
out.
the pellet out and everything, cut pellets out. And he's like, I don't want to be with dad anymore on this, but he still did it. I just thought that was kind of funny when you're having a bad day when you shoot your son in the face.
Yeah, it's
twice.
not going well. Yeah.
Twice, right?
Oh.
And at different times.
You'll shoot your eye out, or your dad will shoot your eye
dad
out.
will
If
shoot
you
your
know
eye
your
out.
pops will. Shoot him.
But Jimmy, is it about 9:30?
Yeah,
Go ahead and
it's
take a break
9:28.
now.
We can take a break.
We're gonna flip on the other side. If you really want to know what's going on in the market, I'm going to give you real life stories of what's happening here in the market right now, on the mortgage end, on the insurance end, on the buy end and the sell end. So we're going to talk about what it's like happening right now. So if you're thinking of buying or selling, questions on insurance or mortgages, this is going to be a lot of like what's happening right now in the market coming up.
Yeah, because this is all like real life stuff that has come to conclusion in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and since we've been gone, all this stuff happened since we've been gone, and it's really interesting stuff, I think, to tell you really what's happening.
Well,
in
it's
the
real
market.
world. You're in the trenches every day. Again, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com, and this is a team of pros, and they are all in the trenches every day in their specified fields, and they're pros. They're experts at what they do. And what's beautiful is they do work cohesively together, because when you're buying or selling a home, whether it's investment property or it's your homestead, maybe your first property, it is one of the bigger transactions you're ever going to be involved with. So you got to have people that are great at what they do in your corner. Go to floridatalkrealestate.com. Know it, use it, love it, and share it on Facebook and YouTube as well. We do a little reset. We get back at it. It's a 4-minute break. Great to have you with us every Saturday. It's Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
The bad news, the brain isn't all that great at hearing stuff and remembering it. The good news, you can watch us too. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Real Radio 92.1.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. Mostly sunny, hot, and humid today with afternoon highs in the low 90s, though feeling like the triple digits. We'll see afternoon showers and thunderstorms develop along the sea breeze with potential for heavy rainfall this afternoon. Partly cloudy, still muggy tonight with lows in the 70s Sunday morning.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Big deals on better sleep are here early. It's Black Friday now at Mattress Firm. Save up to $600 and score a free adjustable base on qualifying purchases. See a Mattress Firm sleep expert today to find your perfect bed and get 120 nights to make sure it's right.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
There we go on a Saturday. Great to have you with us always. Thank you for carving out 2 hours so we can share some infotainment with you. We is me, Johnny C. Our producer extraordinaire is Jimothy. How are you, my brother?
Hello, and good morning.
Good morning. Of course, on a Saturday, I got the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. There's Mike Rauch right here.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm here. Sorry.
Nice to see you. What are you sorry for?
I just sat down a little bit late. I didn't realize where we're at. You started talking, and I was like, oh, let's go.
It's all
Get it together, Mike.
Yeah. Come on,
Hi.
Mike.
Hi.
What the hell?
Good morning. Good morning, South Florida audience.
Good morning to you as well. And good morning to our fearless leader. I call him Jimmy D. It's Jim DePola. I've told you for 11 plus years he runs a top producing Keller Williams team at the
Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team. And Jimmy D, how do you be?
I'm doing good. Happy South Florida. Happy Saturday. Really glad to be back in the studio, even with the flickering lights. So if Mike goes into spasms, you're going to catch it on video.
No, we got to take care of. I don't think it showed up
on
the cameras, but it was hitting me, and yeah, it's better now. Now I definitely am not going to have a seizure. You remember when they did the Olympics, when London did the Olympics, and they had that crazy logo that was, it was kind of like a throwback to 80s where it had like all these flashy, neon colors. You remember that, John?
Yep,
Yeah.
I do. And
they said it was giving people seizures. Yeah.
Yep. Huh. And Japanese anime. I remember Japanese anime, and there was a South Park video where it happened too, where people complained that there was a specific South Park video that was creating people to have seizures.
I don't remember that at all.
Flashing, like this flashing thing.
It's always that, right?
Yeah.
It's always the quick flashing strobing effects.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably true.
Yeah.
Can't please all the people all the time.
All the time.
Exactly.
Sure can't.
Hey, I wanted to go into some of the projects that we've been working on over the last couple weeks. I'm sorry, I'm pulling it up right here. Some of the closings and some of the people that have decided to sell and why some people are buying in today's market, because these are really big questions people have. And this market has been really crazy. We had two buyers that have we've had two buyers that basically said that they are qualified or mortgaged with Mike, and they've said that they've decided to stay to be renters right now because they can't find what they need in their price range at what they can afford. And another thing that's happening is some of them are getting qualified, Mike, for much higher than what they feel that they can afford in real life.
Yeah.
And that's restricting them. Like if they went to more what the bank says they can afford or what they're approved for, and I'm not telling people to do that.
Yeah.
But they would be at a different bracket, just a little higher bracket that would get them probably what they want. But they just didn't want to go up to that higher mortgage payment. So they decided to rent.
It doesn't bother me, and it's understandable. And, I always talk about, like when you're trying to predict the market, you can't do that. If you're ready to move and it makes sense, it makes sense. But one of those criteria is getting into a payment that you can afford, right? That you're not going to get in trouble on, that is, even if you have to tighten up in other areas, that you can make it work. And so I don't mind at all when people in fact, I encourage people to have that number, right? So what I'm telling you on my side of the equation is not what you can afford. It's what you qualify for. And what you can afford is always something that you're much more familiar with than I am, right? Because I'm not really doing a financial analysis on you. You know your spending habits. You know how you save. You know how you spend money. And are there things that you can change about that in order to afford, a payment higher on your housing obligation? Or do you simply know, you're like, no, I'm super diligent. I know exactly what I can pay for my housing obligation. I'm not going to exceed that. And that's okay with me, right? Because when you know. You
know what I call that in the buyer's consultation, right? That's one of the things we do about knowing your numbers. It isn't just getting qualified, but knowing the numbers, really knowing it, right? How much did Mike budget for property insurance? How much did you budget for taxes, HOA, condo fees, if anything, right? Knowing your numbers for real is, I call it the Maui Wowie, right? Which is MAO, right?
Totally different in my house.
I know, exactly. Whenever I ask customers, do you know what Maui Wowie is? And they laugh and go, yeah. And they go, no, not that Maui Wowie.
I think you mean the Zowie Wowie.
No, I call it the Maui Wowie.
Oh, okay.
And Maui Wowie is MAO, maximum allowable offer.
Oh, not the Mao. The Chinese
no, it's that maximum allowable offer. So then I call it the Maui Wowie.
Okay.
So you gotta know your numbers, and you gotta be comfortable, because you don't want to be stuck in a home and eating ramen noodles for the rest of your life. So you have to be really
some people like
ramen.
Jim.
Well, I shouldn't be. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
And there are people that make that decision to stretch their budget that far too, and be like, I'm just gonna eat ramen noodles. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some people who are in the opposite. Like Jimothy's a great example. He's very, very conscious of his budget. He knows what he can afford, because he knows his income, he knows his spending, and he qualifies for a bigger number than what he is comfortable with. But there are situations where you have people who, for whatever reason, don't qualify for a number, but they know they can afford it. But a lot of self-employed borrowers are sometimes in that situation, right? Because their income taxes don't represent the true nature of their income. And so that's the situation where it's like, I'm sorry, I know you want to buy something more expensive. I know you can afford something more expensive. Unfortunately, you don't qualify for it. So they're stuck on the other side of that.
So one of the things that's happening in this market when you're let's talk about sellers first, and we're going to go a little bit about buyers and some other stuff. But with the sellers, one of the things that's happening right now is some houses are going in 14 days, 6 days, 0 days, 12 days, and there's many houses, multiple offers. Many houses are on the market 100 days, 150 days. I just looked at a property that was on the market 420 something days yesterday.
Wow.
Okay.
You went and looked at it?
When I say looked at it online.
Gotcha.
Actually, but one of the houses we looked at had been on that I looked at yesterday, basically in the 800s.
You mean looked at physically?
Yeah, physically went there, was on the market over 200 days.
Huh.
Right. So that's happening too. So
what's the price point on the one that's 400 days plus?
Also, I could give you multiple examples of that, but the one was also in the 800s.
So that's
but yeah, so
price
it's
point.
happening in all markets, even the smaller markets, like some of those lower priced homes I'm going to talk about today. In those neighborhoods, some houses are selling in 12 and some are selling in 186 days, right? Same neighborhood, same kind of house, right? So this is a really kind of crazy market, and you have to know what you're doing. And I think the results of my last 3 deals kind of give some teachable moments as to whoever's calling me right now. I'm on the radio.
They don't.
I know. I guess they don't. Shame on
Or
them.
they don't care.
So, yep, they just don't care. So I'm going to go into 3 of my closed sales, actually 4, and just show you kind of the results of what our team gets and how we do it. So the first one was a townhome. I don't know if you guys remember this one. These were all, we had open houses at them and stuff, so people are going to remember some of these houses. This one was the Jupiter townhome in near Abacoa. It was a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Actually, yeah, it was 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath townhome with a garage in Jupiter. And the guy called me up when he wanted to sell the house, and he called me way early. He called me like January, February, but he didn't want to sell until June. And he was hyped out about what was going to happen in the market, and he was worried about if I wait too long, is the market going to change on me? What about interest rates? January was we didn't know what was going on at that point. We're at like 6.48 for the interest rates. Sales were very slow, really chronically low, right? And he was very worried, but at the same time, he had a house that was completely dated. He didn't do any upgrades to the house whatsoever. House was in good condition, but it was a little tired, to be honest with you. I needed a paint job. There was carpeting that needed to be replaced, but overall, it was a very, okay house.
Very okay.
Yeah, and what happened was, but the thing was, he was looking at what was selling in the neighborhood. He was moving out of the area, and what he was looking in the neighborhood when he was doing his Zillow and Trulia and all those kind of things, when he was going online to look, what he was thinking was this house was in the mid 4s at the time. Because of the other neighbors. Well, what he wasn't taking into account that he is going to be the lowest or the smallest townhome in that community and in that area, even outside the community, is the smallest townhome in like the last 18 months. And
is that a good thing? I mean, like price point's always going to be affordable for that neighborhood?
Well, he was thinking that he could get what houses that were 300 square feet larger were getting. Hey, that house is a 3.2 down the street and they got this and I'm a 3.2, and I'm like, yeah, they're 1,500 square feet, you're 1,100 square feet. That's going to make a difference, right? And we went through everything, and then he had a neighbor that put the house on the market, and we kept going over comps throughout the months. He kept calling and asking, and then a neighbor put their house on the market, and they put the house, now that it's closed, we could talk about because it's public record. They put the house on the market for $440, and it was sitting there for a while, and it went pending right when we were going to go on right when we were going to go on market, right? And it took them a while to sell it. And then I was trying to get our guy to put it on the market at 400, but he really wanted to go higher because of that 440. And I was like, I really would put your house at 400. We don't want to have an appraisal problem because he was moving out of town. He wasn't fixing up the house or anything. He was just like moving out, right? I'm like, I'm done with the house. So I'm like, we really can't push the limits on this. You want a fast sell, right? I go, you want a fast sell at a good number. We got to do this. So I told him he was looking at 385 to 405 was the range where we closed. Let's put it at 400. He wanted to push it 420 something. I didn't really want to do that. He agreed with me to do it at 4. And then the other house closed right after we went on market, and it closed. It was at 440, and it closed at 400, a 10% price drop.
Wow.
And he was freaking out, right? He's like, well, if that unit is bigger than my unit and it got only 400, what's going to happen to me? I go, don't worry about it. Our house sold. So let me tell you the end results. We went under contract in 4 days. Okay. We closed this 2 weeks ago when we were off air. What do you think we got on our house? So the other one, it was 200 and some odd square feet larger. It was on the market at 440, closed at 400. What do you think we got? We put our house on the market at 400. When we went into contract in 4 days.
We got the 400.
395.
I was going to say 397.
Okay, cool. 410. So we actually got more than the other people. Okay. They put a huge down payment down. The realtor on the other end, thank you, Scott, was awesome. Really like working with that guy. He has his own radio show. He just picked up a radio show somewhere, and he has a podcast. So we're going to hook up and talk and see what's going on with that. But anyway, he was an awesome agent to work with. You stole me my lockbox, Scott. But
did you have multiple offers in your 4 days?
No. What happened is we had a nibble. No, well, yeah, we were kind of working 2 offers. The other one wasn't as strong, and they never wrote it up, but they were about to write it up. And then this guy acted more, this buyer acted faster. Super smooth closing. The whole thing went exactly the way it was supposed to go.
Beautiful.
Robert got $15,000 or $20,000 more than his dream price of closing at. He never had to worry about anything. I got him the cleaning service to come in and clean the whole place. So it was spick and span. Even though they had older carpetings, everything, we were able to overcome all that. Got it done in 4 days. Robert, you still owe me a rate my agent. We've been sending you stuff. Now he won't talk to me. The guy won't call me back. And he moved to Pennsylvania. And I want my rate my agent. I know you're busy, but give me a rate my agent because I deserve it. And that house, the reason why we got the results we did is because Robert kind of took my advice to price it right. If we were on the market at 440 or 425 or something, we might have been sitting on that market like that other house was for 40, 50 days and got 10% less than the list price.
Yeah.
Instead, we set it at the right price and we got more than what we were asking for and more than what he wanted to net when he hired me. He's like, Jim, if I don't get this number, I'm not going to sell it. Even though he goes, I'm going to rent it out, which would have been a horrible idea for him because he was out of state. But anyway.
I was thinking, Jim, when you were talking about these houses that were on the market for, 300 days, whatever, I'm thinking it's just got to be price. Like price is everything, right?
Price and condition.
Okay.
It's the price based on the condition.
Sure.
I just looked at one where a family, almost like in Wellington, almost like that Black Diamond community I used to live in, like one of those gated, not Olympia, but a community like that.
Yeah.
And they had a really nice house. I just sold a house over there in September, same exact model. And they put it on the market for 1.4 million. And now it's at 980.
Ooh.
Can you imagine? Now we looked at it when it was 980. And the house still isn't priced right for all the work that you have to put into it. Great layout, great neighborhood, great design, right? House is only 2005, but it's been used and it's hard. And that's a big house and it's a lot of repairs. When you're putting it in a kitchen that size, this is like a, almost 4,000 square foot house. Putting a kitchen that size, you're spending some money, right? Mm-hmm. Flooring, when you got a 4,000 square foot house, that's money.
A lot of flooring.
Right? So you have to price it right based on condition. And that's what a lot of people don't get. And the funny part, that's an owner agent. The person that's selling that house is a real estate agent. So she started at 1.4 and now she's at 980,
True.
So you have to do it right. Now, here's another example. I love this. Oh, and I love this example because this is a repeat customer. I have a couple repeat customers in this segment. Congratulations to Jennifer and Jason. They closed their house in the acreage. I love this story. Okay, so they came to me. Actually, what year was it? They came to me. I'm looking at the listing right now. We helped them buy the house. So this is a house we helped them buy.
877-927-6969 if you want to be a part of the program. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com is your one-stop real estate shop, the hub for the entire team. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
In 2015, we sold the house to them for $280,000, right?
Okay.
It was a house in the acreage, the acre, 1.15 acre type of typical home. It was like a 2002 or 2005 CBS home.
Awesome.
It was dated, right? It was dated, needed some work. Roof was older. We knew that going in.
Pool home, right?
Pool home. Yep. Really. But overall, it was a great layout. I know people would love this house because of the layout. It needed some work. We didn't go nuts on the price. We put it at $585, which made us like the second or third lowest price pool home in the acreage at the time. We put the house under contract in 7 days. We had a roof problem, how to negotiate the roof, but we knew that in ahead of time. So when we priced the house, we kind of priced the roof going in there.
Right.
They were super, super happy. Then what we did next was we got them to an agent. They came to us and she's a public school teacher. And she said, I need to sell a house. I'm moving to Tennessee. I don't know if I'm going to Chattanooga or Nashville because I don't have my job yet, but I'm job hunting right now. And as soon as I know, I need to put the house on the market and I got to sell this and I got to do everything before the school year starts. Right. And she has 3 kids, right? Jason and Jennifer had 3 kids. So they had, to deal with that too. So in 7 days, we got the full list price on the house. We had multiple offers. That house, we had 39 showings on Memorial Day weekend, 39 showings.
There you go.
Felt like it was the old days. We had 9 offers on Tuesday sitting on our desk.
We had buyers who wanted that house.
Yep. And we ended up, I wanted them to get that house so bad, but we just couldn't make it work. And Jennifer wanted our buyers to buy the house too, but there was a detail in there that they couldn't accept and it didn't work out. So what happened was we closed, we got them with the top agent in Chattanooga after she got her job. The person was born and raised in that area because they had never lived in Chattanooga, but they were buying a home. And Jennifer was determined and she was just a dynamo. She had picked 20 houses before they went up there. And she said, Jim, I'm going to go buy a house this weekend. And I'm like, well, Jennifer, it's your first weekend going up there. You've never been there before. So, it'll be great if that happens, but, don't bet on it.
Oh, and she did it. I did that loan up there, Jim.
Yep,
Did you know
I know.
that?
Mike did the loan.
Beautiful.
Right.
And I think that agent you hooked them up with, because I looked up
Sarah,
some information. I think she ran for some, I don't know if it was state senator
office?
or maybe even governor. She was she had ran for Tennessee.
I didn't
at some
even know
point.
that. So what we did is because we're at Keller Williams, we have over 160,000 agents across the country and in across the United States in 44 countries. And we have a list of everybody's production with a map of where they bought and sold or help buyers and sellers sell, their price points, what they specialize in, their training, right? Whether they have team or not. And I went through there and I called through all the agents and called me and Nancy, my administrator, call all these people. We find the best ones. We give them over to you and say, here are really great agents, top agents, just like us in that area.
Yeah.
If you were one of my family members, to say all of these agents are great, pick the one you like the best.
Yeah, who you're comfortable with.
Yeah, who do you like the best? Who thinks like you, talks like you?
Yeah,
on what
get a good rapport with. Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer and Jason were so happy with their results. They got a great home up there. We're going to have them on the air in a couple weeks.
Cool.
So there's
you didn't know this, but that home appraised
25,000 less.
No, 50. 50,000.
Wow.
So I forget the exact
Ours
numbers,
appraised.
but 400 purchase price, 350 appraised value.
Yeah, so they got huge price drops over there, and they got credits for repairs. And so the repairs they gave up here, they actually overall netted more. And the other thing I love about this, she's a public school teacher. She doesn't make a lot of money, but because she bought the house for 280 and she sold it for this, she had a huge down payment for the new home.
Beautiful.
So when she bought the home up there, the home was lower priced than the house here, right?
Yes.
At the current sale price, not the original.
Yeah, they were
But-
more home for your dollar where they ended up buying.
And they put a huge down payment, so their mortgage payment is equal to or less than
Sure.
what their original 280 mortgage payment was.
It's great.
It's awesome. What an awesome story. So these
How
people
old is
saying,
the home they bought up there? Just because I'm
Ooh,
curious of the neighborhood.
I haven't
Is
got
it like
on.
an older
Mike would know
neighborhood?
more on that.
Or is it a newer neighborhood?
It's
know
an
that doesn't matter.
I know it's an established neighborhood, and it was about the school systems, and I know that they wanted to be on the other side of the river, whatever that means. There's
Okay.
a river dividing the town,
They liked one side better than the other.
and the realtors like this side is more established neighborhoods, higher income, better shopping, blah blah blah. Mention all those things, and they're really helpful to them. Super helpful.
I love to hear that. What a great story.
And we talk about that all the time. So when we say we can
87.
Oh, right, nice.
1987.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's so nice. And they have a basement, and the basement needs some repairs. They got to do, I think, some pumping.
I love basements.
Stuff
Yeah, there
over
was some
there.
basements sometimes have water intrusion issues, and so something like that.
Yeah, and they have
But
to work
they,
on that.
they would negotiate it, and I felt like it was a different. Well, how sometimes negotiations are easy, and sometimes they're like cutthroat.
Mhm.
And I don't know if South Florida it's more on the cutthroat side than it is on the easy side, but it seemed like up there it was more laid back.
Yeah, it was.
It could
They
be a
said-
regional thing.
And they said it was completely different up there. You couldn't like showing homes here compared to like we had that with Matt and Lisa up in Massachusetts talking about how different it was showing properties like as a consumer up there versus being the way that properties are shown down here.
Right.
Right.
Well, I remember. So we've had a bunch of people that sold down here, and you've hooked up with amazing
All
agents.
over.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
over.
all
This is
over.
not an uncommon situation. But I remember scenarios where they had to like put thousands of dollars down to look at a home
Just
or
to
something,
look at the
right?
house, right?
Was that in
money that
Carolinas?
non-refundable. money.
Non-refundable.
Yes. Well,
Was
I
it like-
forget what state that was
Was
in.
it Carolina? I think.
You put, I think it is. I think it's
Yeah.
maybe North Carolina.
I feel like it was North Carolina.
but you put I forget what they called it, but it's like an earnest money deposit, Jim, except that it's a
Non-refundable.
non-refundable deposit just to let us inspect the home, essentially.
Yeah,
To let us
it-
come in and look at it and inspect the home.
Yeah,
I remember-
can you imagine?
I remember that
Wow.
nonsense.
And
Yeah.
some of these areas, they just tell you, hey, we're showing it Tuesday 10 to 2.
That's it.
And that's it. Right. I mean, it's kind of like they do things differently
very
in other
different.
places.
That's right.
Maybe it's because we're Florida.
Well, even like you talk to agents and they hear you talk about how you have to plan insurance into your budget, and they're like, well, we just don't even worry about that. It's
Yeah.
just it's not
$1,000
a
a year.
thing. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just
And I talk about that when I call up. One of the questions I ask the other agents, we've got a massive homeowners insurance problem down here. What is up there that my buyers need to know about your idiosyncrasies in your market?
right.
Like we have to worry about property
Sure.
insurance in Iowa, probably not. I'm making it up, but probably not so much. But what else? Maybe they have other issues that we don't even know, like they don't know about us. So I actually asked that
and
question.
they're like,
Which I think
a lot
is
of those shopping carts from the Kroger end up on the street.
How about also down here in Florida now? If you're from certain countries, you can't even buy real estate here in Florida. How
Yeah,
about
they're
that?
fighting
How
over
about
that.
change on the
I haven't
contract?
got into that. I haven't got into that too much because it's a little confusing to me about that. But we're going to get into that when I understand it a little better.
Yeah.
It isn't what the headlines are saying completely. They're glossing over stuff, and when you read it deeper. So I don't know about that. That's why I've
Devil's
been
always in the
staying away.
details.
Yeah. So I've been
Every
leaving that
time.
alone for right now.
Well,
So-
it's a big block on the new contract. So
Yeah.
the standard Florida contract.
But here's an perfect example. The Jennifer and Jason, they didn't care that they had the lower interest rate, that they had a super low mortgage compared to the equity of the house. They decided they wanted to make a lifestyle change for them and their family.
Yeah.
They had a huge amount of equity, so they're paying today's interest rates, and they didn't flinch because it made a better quality issue for their life. And that huge payment that they didn't have when they first bought that house, because they put a small down payment when they bought it in 2015. Now they're putting down what, Mike, 25% down, maybe 50% down on that house, right?
Like 75%.
75% down. So,
Yeah.
the higher interest rate, who cares? Right. And then with the interest rates drop, they're going to go down. They put themselves in such a good position for the future. And people can do that right now. And people are so down on this market and they don't realize there's opportunities here. I know believe me, I understand there's an affordability issue.
Yes.
But if you're in the right position, don't let what you're hearing, all this stuff around you, figure out what's going on for you. But there's another one. Let me go to the next one.
Yeah, no, can I one
Oh,
question
go ahead,
on
Mike.
just because I want to talk about the smoothness of the transit. So they were seller buyer, moving out of state, employment, different, still a teacher, but different school system. So, employment
Needed the money
contract.
from the sale for the purchase.
Right. Like all these things.
Yeah.
And then how did your inspections go on their sale? Were there any inspection negotiations, any appraisal issues?
I almost felt like we could have negotiated better. I'm being honest with you. So when they came back and they gave us the report, we knew the roof needed to be replaced, right? We knew it, right? So, or we had a good feeling about that. In fact, I think we did a useful life report up front.
Yeah, I think you had addressed the insurance.
Just so we knew what was going to happen, right? But then they found a couple other things. And the house was a little tired. And they seemed okay with it. The Jordans seemed okay. And what they wanted to know was, I'm in contract. I'm going up north in 5 days. And I want to know I have the money in my back pocket. So when I go up there and find a house and I say, I'm buying your house, it's going to close. So I felt like, and they felt very comfortable with what the buyers had asked for. So we didn't, we just took it.
It was the and so on the purchase side, so they had inspection issues, which we mentioned water intrusion and big. That seems like that's a big ticket item, right? Yeah. Super low appraisal. So it was the smoothest complicated deal. Like they had every complication, but it went so smoothly. It was amazing. Everything happened on time. There was no extensions on either side. Money moved. Everyone stayed cool. So it was just it can show you that even if it's super complicated, even if you have big, like these are big decisions. You're selling a home, you're buying a home. Like, can you get the loan? Well, you're moving out of state. There's a lot of things to think about from the financing side. And they had like standard inspection appraisal issues, but it all went very smoothly. So congrats.
And
congrats.
Sometimes
it's luck, and sometimes it's just pros. So on this end, right?
Yeah.
But the customers that are involved,
they
also pros.
They gotta be pros too. They gotta put their faith into the people they're working with. They gotta act timely. They gotta be responsible on what they're doing. And you guys know, you got customers that are tough to deal with. It's not going smooth.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be their fault.
She
right?
You have ones that should go super smooth and they end up with a lot of stress, I guess.
Well,
we don't need this.
Well, that brings me to my next one then. Let's talk about the next one.
Next one?
Yeah, I got at least two more. Okay. So we might
power through.
Yeah, we're gonna power through.
We haven't even talked
unless
about
you
the
really
market.
want me to do the 10.
No,
okay. So this one didn't go through so smooth, and I apologize. Tom out there, Tom and Denise, I'm sorry, but we got great results. The end result was great, but the process getting there wasn't the best. So I'm going to be, we're always being real on the show. So Tom came to us. He had a property that he's been renting out for a long time, Tom and Denise. 3-bedroom. Sorry, I don't even remember. 3-bedroom. It was in Lantana. We had open houses on this with Mava. 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool. No, not pool home. 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Lantana, close to 95, 3 miles to the beach.
Was it that really small home
with the blue? Remember, I told you the blue brick in the front, and it was just gorgeous in the front because they hand painted every brick.
It's like less than 1,000 square feet, though, wasn't it?
Let's see. This one was 1,200.
One
of the other ones. Yeah, this one's 1,200 square feet. So, this one, put it on the same market as Jennifer and Jason's. Jennifer and Jason had 39 showings that weekend. This house on Hardy Street, it only had 4 showings that weekend. 39 versus 4. Think about that. Okay, I'm trying to teach you about the market. So,
but you're talking about the third lowest pool home in the acreage, right?
Yes.
Right, with acre plus versus 1,200 in
Lantana. East of 95.
The desirability is a totally different shopper.
Well,
but the people that are looking out there out west, they want that. Right?
But a 3.2 CBS home we put this on the market at 450. That's why I thought we were going to get lots of action.
Yeah, I just feel like that's a totally different consumer, though. Like, if
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
looking-
absolutely.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same.
but I totally agree with you. But there's tons of people that want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home, and we're
fair
going to
enough.
get into that later
That are
about
close to the
pricings.
beach,
Yeah,
close to
so there's
95.
a lot
Sure,
of so there, it's very affordable in today's market. Believe me, in
Oh, yeah.
a decent neighborhood,
But
and the house
that's
was
two
in.
totally different home buyers.
Mhm.
One is that beach lifey kind of person, and the other is like, I want the West, I want acre plus, and a pool. Like,
Mhm.
that's a two totally different people.
Well, you also had 39 showings versus 4.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's something to what you're saying.
But
John.
here's the funny part. It took us. The other house took us 7 days to go into contract. This only took us 14. Right, even though we hardly had any showings.
That's double, though, Jim.
Right, so right, so I know I'm such
Twice
a
as
slacker.
long.
I'm such a
Twice as
slacker.
long.
Damn. So check this out, though. So we had it on the market at 450. We only had like 6 showings. The other house, 39 showings, 9 offers in 3 days. So in 14 days, and the only reason why it was on the market 7 days, it took us like 4 days to negotiate all the offers. That's why, right? Because we were trying to get our buyer in, and
Oh, so it's even
sellers-
worse.
Yeah. So so actually the 14 days was worse. So the 14 days, let me ask you, what do you think we got on the 450 house?
I don't know, imagine you're probably pretty close. You usually price pretty right. So
Mhm.
yeah, I gotta imagine you're right in there.
So what are you saying?
I'm gonna go 460.
I was going to go above.
Yeah.
I was going to say 455.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with Mike. 455.
455. Well, I slacked. I only got 450.
Ugh.
Okay. And we were very happy with that because the roof we knew needed to be replaced on this one. We got a roof quote. We did, I think we did the useful life. I'm not sure. No, I don't think we did the useful life because we knew the roof was coming. Right. So
So
what
you
happened?
really got to work on your pricing, Jim, because it took 14 days and you only got you only got list.
Yeah. Sorry about that. 100%.
Jeez.
You know, the county average right now is 95.
I mean, if you want to roll the dice.
County average 95. I'm such a slacker. So with the Hardy Street, what happened was we went into contract, and then the same day with financing, and the same day this lady came. We showed her the property. She said she was going to make an offer. She disappeared. She turned in the offer the next morning with a different agent. We didn't care. It's like whatever, because sometimes agents get all mad about that. But we just said, okay, but it was cash, and we would have taken the cash offer over the other offer. So then we went in an inspection, and then this agent just blew us apart on the inspection report. And she just said all these things were wrong with the house and they weren't buying it. They didn't want to go forward in the inspection to do more inspections unless this is a really great way not to negotiate for your buyer, right? So they had what they considered a bad inspection report. So then they called us back and said, my buyer is a first-time home buyer. They don't want to bring in a plumber and electrician, which they felt they needed to do, until we know that the seller is going to work with us on the inspection. So I said, well, what are you asking for? And they go, well, we don't know because we haven't finished the inspection. So I said, okay, so I don't know what you're asking me. And she goes, we just want to know if you're willing to work with us. I go, okay, let me call the seller. So I call the seller. Now we knew we were going to work with them,
Right?
Because we already knew about the roof,
Right?
But I'm not telling them that because that would hurt my seller.
Of course.
So we're just waiting for them, and we would respond to them, but they wouldn't give us a straight answer. So we went round and round for like 3 days. And we kept calling them back and saying yes, or 2 days. My seller has told you that they will probably work with us, but we don't know what's in the report or anything yet. So just do your due diligence and then come back and we'll see if we can work it out.
Yeah.
They hired the contractors. Then they started saying all these things wrong with the house. Some of it I didn't agree with, but it's not for me to decide. And then she just decided that they were just pulling out completely without ever asking for a discount. They never asked for the discount. So while we were going back and forth, and it was really, she was very aggressive through this whole thing, and I wasn't. I was being very
She never even got to numbers. Like,
never got to numbers.
Okay.
And then finally I had to say to her, look, I feel like you need to know this, but we're about ready to accept a first position backup cash. And the seller has no problem moving over to that. So if your first-time home buyer doesn't want to buy this house, I totally understand. Let's just cancel the contract. They'll give you back your deposit. We're not going to play games with you and we'll just roll into the other deal. And she's like, oh, really? Like, because the house had been on the market for 14 days. So she thought we were BSing. And that's what ended up happening. The deal died. We rolled right into the new full list cash.
So she thought you were bluffing.
And we closed yesterday.
Did I hear the
closed
detail
yesterday.
right that that buyer showed up to the house with another agent and then made the offer with this agent?
What happened was she called us up, said she wanted to see the property. I got Mava to go out there to show her the house. She said she wanted to make an offer. I talked to her and explained to her what the process was and that Mava was going to handle the contract. She said, okay. And then she disappeared that night. And then the next day she popped up with a different agent, turned in an offer. I didn't know that was the buyer because I didn't know the lady's name, only Mava did. So when I called the agent back and said we're in contract, he gave me a hard time. I just turned in the offer in 10 minutes ago. I go, well, we accepted the offer last night. And
it was the same person.
And it was the same buyer. And basically we could have argued we were the procuring agent because we showed it to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't want to get in that fight. And it wouldn't have been good for the seller in this case. The seller, it isn't like he was desperate or anything, but he wanted to sell the house. Now, here's where it didn't go so well. The closing, we closed on Tuesday on that house, but we didn't get paid until Friday. And there was, I don't want to get into the whole thing, but there was a glitch about the way the escrow money was deposited and that whether the check cleared or not and things like that. We closed it on Friday. Everything went okay, but we had some glitches on that and it didn't go completely smooth, but Tom and Denise were able to go through the stuff and not get too hyped out about it along the way, which really helped out.
But that sounds like more glitchy stuff on like a title or banking side. That is nothing you guys are doing.
No, it wasn't.
Control.
No, it wasn't. But
as a seller, you want to, when you sign the papers, you want to know your money's there.
Totally get
you know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah, like right now too. Like, we good?
Yeah, like I just put a deposit on a pool, Johnny. I need that money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Can we please? Where's my money?
Yeah.
So that money came through, Jim, because I remember you telling me, like, hey, the money is like, we don't know, but that money came through.
Yeah, it wasn't in limbo or anything. But what happened was we couldn't get a confirmation that the check cleared easily.
Yeah.
From the bank, and I didn't know. I was like, what do we need that for? Because if it's been deposited, the money's in the title company's account. Why do we need a receipt from the bank saying it cleared? But then Nancy's smarter than me, and she explained to me why that process is important.
Oh, your big toe.
And actually, Nancy brought up that this could be an issue the Friday before the Tuesday closing and said, are we going to be able to do this?
Nancy's awesome.
And then we weren't. So that's what ended up happening.
Interesting.
So I also wanted to go over another one that I think is really important. This one was a property we did.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Do you
Go
mind?
ahead. No, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Juan and Saray, congratulations. We closed on their home in Royal Palm. This is another customer. We helped them buy their house only in 2020. They put a small down payment back then, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they put a big down payment on that house, Mike. I'm not sure.
No, they did. Yeah.
Oh, did they on the first one?
Yeah.
When they did it. So it grew by 30-something% in 26 months. It grew like 30-something% or 35% of value in 20. It was almost like they were making $9,000 a month just living in the house.
Awesome.
Every month since they bought it, it increased $9,000 in value. Right? Can you imagine? Right. Well, a lot of people can imagine.
I was gonna say, a lot of people can imagine.
You don't have to imagine.
So, it's called being a homeowner in Florida the last couple of years.
I know, but people just think that's just the way it is. So what happened was they had a very tough buyer on their side, and we went through a bloody knuckled knockdown fight that didn't last and that ended last night at like 7:00 at night. Oh. And we closed. And it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,700 square foot pool home in a gated community in Royal Palm. We put it on the market for $675, and we were only on the market. We were only on the market 4 days. 4 days has been my new number now. We only were on the market 4 days, and what happened was they came in. The buyers came in at $665 and wanted some appliances the sellers didn't want to give. We ended up closing at $675. We got the full list. but we had to give up the appliances. That was the downside. But they
Is
got
that
full list
unusual
in 4
to take
days.
appliances with you? Is that a normal thing?
Well, it was a washer and dryer, so that's
Ah.
more common than a fridge, stove, or microwave or something.
Okay, I think I've seen that.
And
Actually,
freezers in the garage are a lot.
it's weird. People get attached to their washer and dryer. I guess you find one that you like, because I've had some that I don't like. Like, if you ever had like the front loader versus the top loader?
Sure.
Very
Sure.
common, but
Yeah.
I've never liked the front loader.
It's funny that
Really?
Jim says
Oh,
it though,
wow.
because when you say it, I'm like, it's gotta only be washer and dryer. Like, who pulls their oven out of a home?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that would be a problem sometimes with certain financing. But here's what we negotiated that appliances 6 times in this deal. We closed in about 30 days, and over that 30 days, the appliances were renegotiated 6 times. And because we kept having to change the terms of the contract because there were some legal proceedings going on. So every time that the contract had to be changed, the buyer would come back and go, I want those appliances if you want me to sign. Then something happened on their end, right? So then something happened on their end, and then the seller's like, we want those appliances back.
Wow.
And then it went back and forth 6 times, and then the sellers didn't end up getting the appliances. I ended up calling those the magical appliances by the end of the thing. I call them the magic appliances.
They're like
It's
the
like,
beans.
why does everybody want these appliances?
The
It's
magic
crazy.
beans.
Yeah, it's like the magic beans. It was crazy. But we got 675 on a 675 list.
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure that's what it appraised at, right? Because I got word on that. And so they did really, really well. 4 days on market. Now, other houses in that market right now, I just looked last night, 158 days, 78 days, 86 days, right? So it isn't just like everybody in the neighborhood gets these results. We're getting these results. Why? We have systems on how we do things, right? So that's really important. Now,
And I know you were looking at all those homes. You were comping that. I mean, that's part of your process. You have to understand how to get to your number. There's a process for sure. Were you stunned by some of the ask for some of these homes on the market in the neighborhood? Or were you like, why? Were you digging to try to figure out why?
what I was doing, what you have to do in today's market, you have to be very careful and really focus on the closed and not the actives.
Right.
And not even the pendings. And the pendings you're going to look at also more closely than the actives, but you're looking at days on market and the pending. But the thing that's even tricky about that today, it's not that uncommon to have a house on the market for 180 days and get like 97 or 98% of the list price.
So
without a price reduction.
Without a price reduction. Isn't that crazy?
Well, so the markets are always changing and you're always learning. Like when we were buying my home, so we closed September 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I remember specific instances where you guys were like, oh, this one's been on the market. Look, we're going to get this much price reduction on around this day. And it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like the exact number, or almost the exact day, if like 2-3 day difference. And you predicted it on like several homes we were looking at. Be like, oh, you like that house? Let's wait. They're going to price reduce. They've been on the market this long. So there was almost like a play sheet almost at the time that you knew.
It was more predictable.
It's nowhere
back then.
near that right
now.
now.
You can't predict it that way. It was. Some of the agents are stupid enough where they used to, back in the day, this is when the economy, when Johnny was buying, the market was just kind of turning the corner
It
up.
was. Yeah.
Right?
You were like, you got to buy now. You're going to miss.
Yeah, you're going to miss
You
out
made
on
me.
this
Thank you
trough,
very much.
on the trough. You're going to miss out on the trough. And what happened was, though, is some of the agents back then, because everything took forever to sell.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing sold fast. Right. So people would just drop the price every $5,000 every Friday.
Was there?
And I'd
was
go
there,
and I'd look and I go, oh, wait till Friday. And I wouldn't tell my customers, like, let's wait till Friday. There's going to be a price drop. They're like, how do you know? It's like, it happened 6 times.
Is there now, or was there in place at a time? Like, could you tell based on the brokerage that they worked for, kind of what their game plan was going to be?
Oh, a
like
tendency?
does Keller Williams have like, hey, here's how you should do this, or does Coldwell Banker, or does Weichert, or whatever it is?
Like you're learning an offensive
just
play
like
callers
this
tendencies.
is what their top people are doing,
right.
Well,
no,
I want to say no, because everybody's like an independent contractor. Now we take classes. I've been in 3 or 4 classes just recently because the market is changing so much. I want to stay on top of what's happening in the market.
Yeah.
And even though I'm very immersed in the market, I'm doing all kinds of things in several different counties at all different price points. it's always good to see what the other agents, the other top agents that are training. So I'll go into other top agents training
and
go in
see.
there and see what they're saying and they're experiencing, because we're all so busy. We don't like sit around and have coffee together and stuff, right? So I have no problem going to, one of the, like, if the Silvers in our office,
Yeah,
them,
sure.
because you work with them.
Sure.
If they have training, I'm probably usually going to that training because I want to see what they're experiencing, because they're top agents too.
So you got your 21-day marketing plan. Does your plan does it have set times for price reductions?
No.
And increments?
Well, yeah, in a way, yes and no. So here's how the plan goes. We used to usually put the houses on the market Thursday, but a lot of sellers want to put the houses on the market too fast. I like putting them on Thursday still, but a lot of them, if we're done with the photos on Monday, they want the house on the market Tuesday. And because of the craziness of the market, and we don't know what's happened with interest rates, I put them on the market faster. Back when we put them on Thursdays only, the interest rates were very steady, right?
Yes.
We're going to get into interest rates very soon.
Yeah, we're going to talk insurance, interest rates,
almost
in
there.
Texas.
Yeah. So what ended up happening though is we put the house on the market usually on Thursdays, and then we let the first weekend go organic, which means we do social media marketing. We're waiting for the portals like Zillow, TrueYourRealtor.com to put all our stuff up, because we do put all our stuff up there. Remax, Caldwell Banker, Kai's Realty. We want to get our property on all those sites. And then we're scheduling for the week after that Thursday to do the open house. So that means we usually do the open house on the 9th day. And then the following Mondays, when I sit down on the 11th day and figure out where are we at? Have we sold the house yet? Do we have offers on the table? How much action are we getting? How much action are we not getting? Right. And then we sit down and say, how do you feel about where we are? I tell them where we are compared to the other experiences we have with other sellers. What do you want to do? Then if they want to let it ride, we wait to the 21st day. And then on the 21st day, we really sit down. And on the 21st day, that's where I usually say, should we have a price reduction or not? And I justify it. I don't just like throw out a number. I go over all these comps, what happened in the last 21 days in the neighborhood. Did other people buy other houses when they should have bought ours? Why didn't they buy ours? How many pendings? How many new properties went on the market? Do we have any recent closings in the last 21 days?
Sure.
Right. And that's how we decide to do it. So I do it methodically and not just hey, we've been on the market 21 days. I have a
you got to be careful though, Jim. Don't become predictable. Maybe occasionally do a price increase instead of a reduction.
We've actually done that in the past. We've actually done that in the past. I just want to go over we have 2 actives on the property just to show what's happening in the active market for sellers and buyers. So I put on 2 properties in Lantana. Thank you, Katie and John, for giving me my 3rd property with them, 2nd and 3rd property. We already helped them sell 1 property. Now we're selling 2. We also got John and Katie with a great realtor in North Central Florida, where they're shopping for their new home up there already. So we're doing the same thing we did with Jennifer and Jason just in Florida.
Cool.
And these are really good houses. And people, if you're looking for affordability again, this is like Hardy Street. We got a 3-1 with a pool. It's a little smaller. It's just a little under 1,000 square feet, but it's in, pretty good condition. It's a really cute house, and it's only $335. 3-1 pool home, CBS construction, $335,000 in Lantana. Yes, you can see it on the Facebook page.
Thank you.
Florida Talk Real Estate. Sorry, I stole your thunder. I'm talking fast now.
You know what's coming.
I know it's coming. Yeah. And then the other house we have on the market is 887 West Duval Street. This one is a little larger at 1,200 square feet. And it's also a 3-1 with the pool. That's my favorite one. And we have that one on the market for $450.
Nice.
Although the 335, I was looking at that and I was like, because I haven't decided where I want to buy yet. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should move into here, stay here, chill out at a lower priced home, fix it up, and then later turn it into a rental or Airbnb. It's 3.1 miles drive to the beach, meaning like including the turns and everything, not just as the fly crows, as the fly crows. I just did a Greek, but
it's coming up at 11, right?
So we put those. So we put those 2 houses on the market yesterday. Okay, so the last thing I want to wrap up with this is what's happening in the market.
So just real on those 2, both those homes had a 3 in front of the price.
335 for the 1,000 square foot. The 1,200 is $450.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Now, and we just sold Hardy Street around the corner, which was a 3-1, same size without a pool
450.
for 450.
And the both those properties, Florida Talk Real Estate Facebook page. You can
All
see.
of it's there.
Beautiful.
All of it. Now, check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 showings for those two properties, about even 5 and 6, right? So we have 11 showings going on today and tomorrow for those two properties. We put them on the market yesterday. And and as soon as we put it on the market within 3 hours, we had multiple showings. I also had 5 or 6 agents call me up, and I've had several buyers without agents drive by or saw the stuff on the internet and have called me, and they're thinking about buying, but they don't have an agent. And one of them said we were overpriced. He was an investor, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
I'm
you're an
gonna get tons of showings tomorrow, right? If you really want to see this, you got to go out there now. And I had another one that's looking for a property for his daughter, and I called him yesterday, like I promised, because he saw the sign first. And I said, as soon as it goes on market, I'll let you know. I called him yesterday. He's like, I'm kind of busy to talk to you. I'm like, you don't have much time. If you want to see the property, he didn't call back today. I'm expecting both those houses are already sold. I might be wrong, but I think they're both sold right now.
I think you got at least
We
offers.
just don't know
Yep.
which buyer it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah. So the market is still very, very strong. Okay. I want to wrap up with the mortgage rates, and then on the second half, we're going to talk about property insurance, property taxes, and the other thing we were going to talk about. But let's go into interest rates first, because this is really important. Johnny, you are a genius when you told me months and months ago, Jim, I read a report that back when we had the 18% interest rates, the prices went up. And I that stuck in my head since then. Well, I saw a report on vacation.
And I'm not a genius. I was just sharing what I read.
Yeah, but still, I hadn't heard that anywhere. So you must have been reading deep. And I just saw a report where they did a study from 1970 through 1982 or 83. And that was like our worst economic times in recent history since World War II. That was like the worst for us, right? I guess before COVID. But property values, that's when interest rates hit up to 18% national average. And some people were paying 20, like 21, 22%. Can you imagine?
I can't.
I can't even imagine.
Gosh.
Property values went up during that time 159%.
That's amazing.
Right? So what does that mean today?
What was the driver on that? Inventory. Nobody. It was the. I heard the Ice Age. One of your clips.
Yep,
the Ice Age. Right. Nobody is doing anything.
Inventory.
Inventory.
Yeah.
It's all about the inventory. So what was happening back then? The people weren't dropping the prices, and there wasn't a lot of inventory, and they weren't dropping prices. Like, if you want to buy the house, it's going to cost.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so where are we today? So our interest rates went up. Now, Mike is saying there's better news that I'm going to tell you right now. But as of the Thursday's Freddie Mac report, we are at, and I was really surprised because I didn't look at Freddie Mac for 2 weeks. I had to break, right? 6.96. So 6.96 is the high for the year. The second high for the year was only 6.79.
I was going to say it's 6.
Oh, wait, no, that isn't right. It was
6.73. Oh no, here it is. No, you're right. 6.79.
6.79.
That was just in January. January 1st.
Yeah, it was
June 1st. June 1st.
And we were there again in we were at 6.73 back in March. So those were the two peaks. Now we're at a peaky peak. Like, we just hit the highest.
Right.
But we were at 7.08 in November.
Yes. So we're not as high as November. We hit 7.08 twice in 2022. Once in the summer, once at the end of the year. Now we're in the summer again. We have a high price. I wonder if we're mirroring what's going to happen. And maybe prices start going down in August. I don't know.
Prices or rates?
Sorry, rates.
Okay.
Sorry. But what's going to happen is 6.96. It's, not good. When we hit 7, it was crickets chirping for buyers.
Yeah.
They were waiting. Probably some of them were probably right, because we did go down to 6.48, saved a half a point. But we're about a half a point above where we were at the beginning of the year. We're at 6.48 in January. We're almost at 7 now. So we're almost a half a point up. And depressing, right? But here's the other thing. June, we hit our highest peak ever in Palm Beach for most of the South Florida for median sales price for single family homes, 622 in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, we did.
Right? So we've only hit 620 a year ago, and that was the highest ever.
And that was up from May. Wasn't May record?
Mm-hmm.
So we broke it again?
Yep.
You said June. You just said June, right?
Yeah, June of this year we hit 622.5, and that's the record because June of last year we're at 620, and that was the record.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Okay.
all right. But May we were at a
May we were high.
super high number too.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
So
if you look at Freddie's chart though, so like there was a little peak in March, so early March, and then it started dipping, Johnny. And we talked about that before. It's like, so that dip drove like the buyers who were kind of like, they were in the market.
Right.
Early part of the year, it was climbing. And then it started dropping. So those buyers are like, well, we better go. We better like find something, get into contract. Let's do it. And I think that's what drove probably the May and June numbers, was because rates were dipping, and you could if you were locking in April, you had a good rate compared to what it would have been the month before.
Good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to go through that cycle again as soon as the prices start dropping again. Inflation, I don't want to get into too much this week. We'll talk about it more probably 2 weeks from now, because Ross is going to be the big thing next week, the insurance. But
finally heard the truest words on inflation. They're talking about, you mentioned at the start of the show how it's national, but they kind of break it down like local, state to state. The truest words spoken yet on inflation. They're like, well, Florida has the worst inflation in the nation. It's driven by the housing market. It's like, finally, truth being spoken about inflation.
That's true.
Finally, a little bit of truth. And now, next thing you want to hear is corporate America is gouging everybody too. Like those two. Yeah. Now we get to the realities, right?
Yeah. And so we hit 3% for the national, 3% annual inflation. That's from the high of 9.1, whatever, 18 months ago or wherever it was. And the other thing that, if you want to get really wonky, that 3%, when we were at 4.8%, and people were, and that was going down because we've gone down 12 months in a row. It's been a 12-month drop consistently.
I don't feel it at all, but okay.
Yeah. Well, gas.
Yeah, I mean,
we're at 489.
I work right next to a racetrack, and I've seen it week to week fluctuate 10 to 12 cents.
Yeah, that's
day
true.
to day.
Day to day.
I drove by the one that's right around the corner here. It was $3.19 one day. It was $3.49 the next.
Yep, and then the next day it goes to $3.23, and then it's $3.39, and then it's
the volatility on that is just incredible.
But it's a tight volatility. It is going up and down 20%. I mean, 20 cents, 25%. But we were at 4.89 a year and a half ago.
Oh,
so, and we're not seeing that.
Oh, true.
You know what I mean? We're kind of like staying in a middle.
Yeah, the pandemic, when it couldn't get stuff around, it was a different beast for sure. But it's fascinating.
So the thing is,
grocery bills, but definitely not coming down.
Right. Groceries not coming down. Cars are coming down is a big thing.
Right.
Energy's come down a lot from where we started. That's part of it. They're saying energy and cars are driving most of this. Food and those kind of things like consumer goods, they're still up.
Yep.
But the 3%, the things I want people to consider and keep an eye out on, when we were at 4.8% in the national news, what I read is that the Feds look at it differently, and we really at 4.2% for them, right? Trying to get to there too, right? So if we're at 3, we might be in the 2s for the Fed
from their number,
what they're working off
of their goal.
And I'm wondering if they just let this ride where we are and don't do anything and just let it ride.
I think that's
I think will happen this week. Yeah. But if they do let it ride for a while, I'd like to see what was going to happen, because I don't know if things are going to get worse or better, but Mike and I were having a conversation outside, which we'll get into later, basically. But if the rates start dropping, like if we start getting if we get like 5.98, we're going to have a mad dash of buyers like crazy.
I think it's going to happen because lenders are in the business of lending.
That's going to fuel the prices. It's not going to get better.
That's what Jim was saying outside too. Is like, I'm thinking, so if the Fed, even if the Fed holds steady on what they're doing, and they don't continue to increase rates, how are mortgage rates going to drop down? And Jim said the same thing you just said, which is lenders need more volume. They need more loans in the pipe. And I mean, one thing is,
I don't know if they need more, but they're in the business of lending, and they have this risk that they're willing to take. And if values keep going up, I mean, they're only going to go so far. But I think they'd love to keep jumping in if they can.
I think I don't think there's any hope of refi business like increasing. We're not going to get rates like
No.
that, but the purchase business could increase if rates come down. If we see that, I don't know if we're getting a full point
gonna
down
be
from
if
where we're
they-
at now.
if they
Seems
do-
optimistic.
If they do, well, it just depends how thirsty the banks are, how hungry the banks
That's it.
are. So, like, you have to make a decision. Am I going to take 6.8%, and I'm making up numbers, 1,000 people, or if I drop it to 6%, am I going to get 5,000 people?
Well,
You
so
know,
it's-
and then the numbers work better, and nobody's defaulting on loans right now.
What's
so
the
it's
safety net
risk.
though? So there is a point where they're like, we're not going to keep getting into the risk at these numbers.
They were
because
they
if
were
there's a
writing
reversal in the
mortgages at
market-
2.8%. They get 6%. They're doing fine.
They're doing great, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the whole thing, the reason that the consumers' rates go up is because the lending institutions are not shrinking their margins, right? The reason your mortgage rate goes up is because the bank lending rate goes up, right? I mean, that's just the way it is, right? So even short term.
They
so those-
don't increase their margins at all.
No, I'm saying their margins stay the same, which is why you see the movement on the consumer level, right? If they were like banks, like, oh, we're going to cut costs across the board. I'm talking about significant, like, hey, we're taking half of what we used to get on a mortgage, for profit. Then you would see less fluctuation or a smaller gap.
Oh, I see
You know what
you're
I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And that's the troubling part. We get like back to the gas. You're reporting record earnings quarter after quarter. You're like, so you could make a little less and we could save at the pump a little bit.
Yeah.
Could do that.
Yeah.
I think the thing the Fed has to they're trying to hammer home the point that consumer spending needs to like stay in check, right? Because what happens if they start easing up, Johnny, and everyone feels a little bit less restricted, then all of a sudden your spending goes up
That's
again.
what I'm afraid of.
Right.
It's
So they're like, no, we're gonna keep this in place as long as necessary, because these Americans have to learn this lesson. Of course, Americans don't learn that lesson, right? In general,
Americans need to learn, but the Treasury needs to learn too. The Fed's got to stop printing. Like that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all spending, not just us, but we're a big part of it. Consumer is big, but you got to stop printing too. Like it's not helping.
Well, aren't they doing that? What's that? Not quantitative easing. What's the other one? Quantitative, the opposite of easing. I thought that they were
Tightening?
selling off. Maybe it is tightening.
Yeah.
But I think they're selling off what they've been doing for since January.
Their position in mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah.
Right. Like they had to take
And
a
that's
huge position there to keep the wheels turning.
quantitative easing. They're trying to get some of that money back right now. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. But let me tell you, if people are thinking that they're waiting for the interest, if you're a buyer, okay, and you're thinking I'm going to wait for the interest rates to drop, the prices are going up.
They will.
It's
promise.
It's going to happen.
It's kind of the same story we've been talking about all along, which is yes, you may make up ground on one side, but you're losing ground on the other side. You end up buying the same house. Maybe you bought it higher, you bought it lower, but the interest rates went up, or if the interest rates go down, you end up with the same payment. So
I just heard on a podcast, Dave Ramsey guy. I don't listen to him a lot,
but he's a big name,
right? Yeah, and people listen to him.
Oh,
He has a big following.
Yes, he does.
But I was surprised what he says. He goes, if you're thinking about buying a house and you're worried about the interest rate, as long as you could afford to buy the house, buy the house.
Right.
He was very clear in his podcast. Buy the house.
I mean, we've said the same thing in not so many words.
Because and he's saying the same. He didn't say this, but it was like you marry the house, you date the interest rate. Right. So they could always change the interest rate later, but you want to be married to the house that you love.
So it's like validating to hear him say it. You're like,
well,
yeah,
I just thought, the guy who believes in, zero debt, right? He's a zero debt guy. Now he is a licensed realtor, and I think he used to be with Keller Williams, and I don't know if he is anymore.
Buying homes and having zero debt don't really go hand in hand.
Right. But for him to say, go ahead and buy the house now. And the reason why he's saying that is because he's saying prices are going to continue to rise. So the people that are thinking that the prices are coming down, that's not happening.
No.
And we're not seeing it. And I thought we would see it. Remember, beginning of the year, I was thought we were going to see it. And that's why when you blew my mind when you said that back in the day, Johnny. And now you and that guy, Dan DeMott, my broker at the office, he's been correct. As to what's going to happen.
We've slowed appreciation. Appreciation slowing to normal, right? Is what it's happening. We're not in crazy town, double digit appreciation. We're like 20% appreciation.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
Closing in on, weren't we? At some point? Yeah, that's insane.
What were you saying, Mike?
I was saying I don't listen to Dave Ramsey
Me neither.
often enough, but he's you think about that as not is a long-term play, right? He's basically just saying it's always better to buy than to rent. Number one, if you can get into an affordable situation, get the real estate, get the asset that's part of your wealth, portfolio. And over the long term, as long as you can withstand ups and downs in the markets, at some point you will have made money on that house, and perhaps a lot of money.
Yeah.
And probably the longer you go, the more money you're going to make.
Right.
Yep.
So we talk about that all the time. That's basically what we say. But
so let's get into, since
Exactly
we got a
what
little
we
bit of
say.
time,
Yep.
because it's all related to this. Let's get into this Texas property appraiser stuff, because or homesteading. I'm very interested in it. I brought it up, I think the week before, the last week we were on, or the week before.
You did, yes.
And,
you did.
They passed it. Okay, so the governor signed the bill. So there's a property tax relief in the state of Texas. And this bill says that the average homeowner is going to save $1,400 a year.
And it's a homesteaded thing, right?
It's a homestead, right?
Okay.
So this is only for primary residents, right? Just like down here. But you can get actually the people saving, because they raised the exemption you get on your house.
They doubled it, right?
They doubled it to 100,000 or something like that. And now the average person over there, the average homeowner, is saving about 1,400 according to their analysis a year. Now, my question is, are we going to do that in Florida? And I'm wondering if that's going to happen, because first of all, I always joke that these are the sister states, right? But more importantly, we can't handle our insurance crisis right now. This insurance is getting crazy. I talked to somebody whose insurance policy was $20,000 a year, and they jumped to $60,000 a year. Come on.
Wow.
Come on. Okay. Now, we're talking about gigantic houses, very expensive. Some people could say, well, you should be able to afford that, but still, come on. Any homeowner getting 300% increase in their property insurance.
I hate when everybody starts spending other people's money like that. Just
Mhm.
think of the increase. Like, get
Yeah.
out of their pockets. Think
Yeah,
of the
exactly,
increase. How does that
exactly.
make sense?
So I don't know how they're going to be able to fix this insurance problem. We have legislators asking for another special legislative session, saying, hey, everybody helped the insurance companies in the last legislative session, but there's no relief for the homeowners. So we want some too. But what can they really do? I keep thinking about, what could they actually offer? They're already offering the home hardening programs where, hey, we're going to give you money to fix up your house so you can get a reduced insurance coverage. That's a good thing. We're going to talk about that when Ross is here. But
that is so minimal, though.
Exactly.
I mean, it really is.
But if they could do something like Texas, where at least primary residence people are getting $1,400 off on their taxes, that could be a big help to a lot of people on their insurance bill, like offset the insurance. It's not a fix, but it helps.
It doesn't fix the insurance problem, but it does give some relief to Florida residents who are with homesteaded property.
And if that's where we're at, though, with our insurance problem, we are really screwed.
But I'll tell you what, Johnny, if they're going to put it on the table, take it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm with you. But if the fix for our insurance problem is to find other ways to alleviate the pressure from it, that's not a fix.
That's a Band-Aid. That's not a fix.
Yeah, but it still gets us a little farther down the road.
It's like you broke your arm, and Johnny, I'm going to stomp on your foot, to distract from the arm pain. That's kind of what it is.
But I either pay the $1,400 to my property taxes, or they let me save it, and now I get to push this over to my insurance instead. I appreciate the effort. Please, let's do it. It sounds great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fix it. And if that's the answer to the fix, we're so screwed.
I just think it's going to be a stopgap that you could do that would be pretty easy. Now, here's the thing. This is a great time to do that.
Yeah.
Because the property values are so high. Have you been reading in the papers where all the property appraisers are talking about how they are reducing the millage rate because the values are so high?
They're collecting too much.
They're collecting more money than they need.
We talked about this when you first brought it up, but my first thought was, anyone who has an existing exemption in place, it doesn't matter if their property value increases dramatically, because one of the protections of the homestead exemption is that your taxable value or your assessed value, can only increase 3% year over year versus the market value is just going to go with the market.
Can I ask a ridiculous question that you guys may or not be able to answer? Because it makes sense, but I don't think it works this way in the real world. worst case scenario, huge collapse in the housing market, right? Values plummet. They cut in half. So let's say on a $400,000 home, I'll just use my house. My house is worth $420,000 and I'm paying $4,000 a year for insurance.
$420,000. Nice.
Yeah, you like that? Huh?
Can you imagine?
Let's say my property, let's say
1%.
my value drops in half. My house is worth $210,000. Do you think my property insurance gets cut in half?
No,
I don't either.
No.
Do you think
No.
it goes down $1,000 a year?
Well,
I actually don't think it changes at all. I don't think they base, because it's still a cost to rebuild my home.
exactly.
Right? Whether
That-
it's worth that or not, they still have to cost to rebuild it. So to base this all on value is weird.
What I don't understand,
Because if the bottom falls out, my savings that I got in my taxes, that's all sapped away. And I still have to pay my property taxes.
I think when we had the property appraiser on, Dorothy Jacks,
oh, that
they
was some time ago.
Yeah, they have their own system for appraising homes, and they definitely consider market value. So they're looking at comparable sales, much like an appraiser in our market would look at a home. So I would say, yeah, they have an obligation to assess the true, and usually it's less than market value, but they assess their own version of market value on the home. So I would say, yeah, the market value is going to go down. Your assessed value is going to go down.
So
now is it going to go in half? I think they're following, right? They're always a year.
Well, the property taxes would go down, but the insurance.
I'm not talking about insurance.
But so it
He's
would
talking
they'd
insurance.
but they'd step in and do it like the next taxable year. So worst case scenario, we have a collapse. The next taxable year, the county would come in and reassess everybody and get us back to the value.
That happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
okay.
already happened.
Were
so
you
like
talking
when we
insurance
had
or
the
property taxes?
But both. Because
Okay.
we're talking about easing the burden of property insurance by saving money on taxes.
So
right?
the property taxes, that's an easy one. The insurance for me is a little harder. So the property taxes, we've already gone through both those cycles. The extreme increases
but
twice.
it does. It
and
happens the
goes
next
down.
taxable year.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can actually see there was a time in 2018 where I would point out to people that the taxable value of their home went down. Some of them were going down 6%.
Okay, here's why I'm ignorant to it. I've had nothing but appreciation in my home since I bought. I've never been a homeowner that lost value. So I'm ignorant to it.
There you can actually see on the property appraiser the percentage increase or decrease year over year
And
for
I sound
like the last
a real
5 years.
asshat when I say that. I'm sorry, I'm not wagging
No.
my flag.
No,
I just made a great investment. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry that I'm so awesome.
Yeah, sorry about that. So with property taxes, it can go up and down. And the good thing about being homesteaded, if it goes down as low as it goes, 50% value, you get that full benefit of the decrease.
All right, so that's beautiful.
But with the property property insurance, the thing I don't get is, do you remember when we were saving so many people money by saying, hey, I used to call it the backdoor refi.
Right.
Hey, you want to get a cheaper mortgage payment without doing a refi? Why don't you check your property taxes? What I don't get is, why did they go down so low at that time?
Right.
I don't understand
I don't
that.
either.
So
Because it shows you the manipulation of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't realize that they were getting hemorrhaging and fraud at that point or something, but we saw huge decreases, and it was so much fun getting people, hey, I just went from 6,000 to 3,200.
Right.
It's like, I love that, instead of the opposite of what we're going through now. So I don't know why that happened during that period. It would be great to talk to Ross about that.
What years was that?
Probably 2018, 2019.
I mean, it has, because they're
2017, 2018.
I was going to say, if you're talking about insurance and like is that value going to go down? They assess the rebuild costs. So construction costs are part of, like, materials and labor costs are part of how they determine that dwelling coverage.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, Jim. I think probably it was just probably competitive. Florida hadn't had a lot of disaster related stuff for a while, maybe not statewide, but they say the litigation is the big problem. They've already put in stuff to like
what they say
hamper the litigation. I'd be curious to have. I would love to get a plaintiff's attorney on for insurance claims, and see, has he been in has his number of cases gone down dramatically, right? Like the cases that he's able to file, or has that gone down? And so that might be a good barometer for what's in the coming years.
I read they settled 200,000 cases in the paper a couple of days ago. So who knows? Maybe this, it just happened. So we need time for
Because
it
we
to
had
work
we
it
had
through.
a flood, a tsunami of
I
filings.
don't
right?
even know if that made up for that
Yeah.
2 days,
Yeah.
that 2-day
Yeah,
filing.
right. Like, oh, the deadline, file quick. So
Yeah.
let me get back to Texas here real
Mhm.
quick. Do you know? So we'll say the median for Palm Beach County is 600.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, what's the median home values we're dealing with here? Because we're talking about, similar.
Well, no, I think the better question is like, so what's the savings going to be, Johnny?
Because he said it was about 1,400 on
1,400.
average.
Yep.
So let's say, I don't know what the millage rate's in there in Texas. Say it's something like 2%.
Okay.
So if they doubled, 50,000, you were getting basically that 50,000 gave you a 2% saving on 50,000, right? So that's $1,000, right? So if they doubled it, then your savings went from 1,000 to 2,000.
Right.
This article doesn't talk about that, but there's
So it's
something
not
in
a
this article
value.
that I glossed over. Even businesses and non-homesteaded properties are going to get tax reductions. So they're giving it to everybody, not the same way. It's different calculations, but they're giving everybody a price drop.
Yeah. So it's okay.
Right?
So it's not like a tiered thing. It's just across the board.
That doesn't
doubling.
make sense. So, because if it's tied to the homestead exemption, right? Because what we do is like,
it's
if
homesteading,
your
yeah.
taxable value, Johnny, is $200,000,
and it's capped at how much rate per increase per year? When you're
3%.
homesteaded, 3%.
But let's just say your assessed value is 200,000, not your market value. Your assessed value is 200,000. With your homestead exemption, your taxable value would be 200,000 minus 50,000. So you're paying taxes on 2% of 150,000.
Okay.
If they double the homestead exemption, then instead of paying 2% on 150,000, you're going to pay 2% on 100,000, right? Because your taxable value is 100,000 less than your assessed value.
Right.
So it's basically, in that scenario, it's pretty easy, right? If your millage rate is 2% or 20 mils per thousand, you're going to be saving $1,000 a month on a $50,000 exemption. $1,000 a year.
$1,000.
Yeah, about $1,000 a year, right?
$1,000 a
example,
year
right?
On a $50,000 exemption.
Okay.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see Florida file suit on this.
File suit.
Follow
Oh,
suit.
follow suit. I'm
suit.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they follow what's happening in Texas. It would be interesting.
What's it carved out to? Where's it go? Do you know where that money's siphoned to right
The
now?
property taxes.
Yeah. How do they?
Yeah.
So
Look at your
yeah.
Trim notice that comes out every year.
So yeah, it does. So county to county, it shows you what gets paid. So what's the difference maker? In Texas, it's what?
What do you mean
Taxes?
the difference maker?
How are they making up the difference?
They don't have to, because the property values went up so high. Do you understand what I mean? The property values have gone up so high that they're collecting way more money than they budgeted for.
Okay.
So they're collecting more across the board, but they're also collecting probably way more on non-homesteaded properties, right? Because that's when your market increases on non-homesteaded properties, you're getting the full benefit of that market increase.
Well, there is
from a
cap.
tax perspective.
No, there is a cap. Remember, Dorothy said there was a cap on that. It just isn't 3%.
On non-homesteaded properties.
There's a cap. I didn't know that until she came on the air.
I'll have to revisit that.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that in my real estate class back in the day.
Jimothy can explain this to you.
So
there's
inscrutable Mike's going to figure it out. So we'll find out.
I would imagine if we adopt this, if Florida does it, we're no longer concerned about foreign investors, because we'd want as much non-homesteaded properties as possible.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So those can't run parallel, or at least it's just not most advantageous.
As long as Florida doesn't want to spend more money, right? If they're not trying to expand
crux,
it, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
right.
As long as they say, you know what, we're pretty good the way we're running everything right now, and we have extra money, so we're going to give it back to you, but we're going to keep all the services the same because we can afford it. They can actually do that right now, I believe.
But can't you always find, like, look at the hometown heroes? We didn't talk about that. We should have, but. Like, can't you always find good ways that are I want to say marketable, but are appealing to the masses of spending extra revenue?
Sure.
So 100 million towards Hometown Heroes.
Like fixing
Boom.
bridges and roads and.
Well, come on, Johnny. I'm talking about money in your pocket,
Oh,
right?
well,
like,
yeah.
Give,
Now you're really
give it
talking.
back. Give it back, right?
Let's go ahead and switch over to Hometown Heroes real quick because it's
Okay, we got
super,
7
super
minutes,
important.
sure.
You got 7 minutes, so it's really important to talk about this for our buyers. So the Hometown Heroes Act was a program that was put
No, the
out.
Live Local Act.
No, I wanted to start off with the Hometown. So Hometown Heroes was a program to help cops, firefighters, police officers, government workers, and health workers, basically educators, to get 5% of the loan value of the whatever loan they're getting, get 5% back as a
Down payment assistance.
Down payment assistance, right? They had $100 million. It took them like 10 months, and they had spent $80 million or something at that time.
Yeah, and they shut down. They basically stopped accepting new reservations about 11 months. And they said, wait a second, we've got enough reservations to take us through for the funding, the 100 million. So they pretty much lasted the whole year. Yeah.
Okay.
They did stop taking reservations.
So then what they did was, and we're trying to get the state senator, I forgot her name, but we're trying to get the state senator there that changed it to the Live Local Act. So they morphed the Hometown Heroes Act into what's called a Live Local Act to support all people that are trying to buy primary residences down here, right? And they also had $100 million, just like the Hometown Heroes, but it started July 1st. And Mike told me shocking news today. So Jimothy, Johnny, how much of the 100 million, we started July 1st, how much of 100 million has been spent already?
So
July 3rd,
which was that Monday. Then we had the 4th was Tuesday. So it
so
was basically
12 days ago.
like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, last week, and then this most recent week.
12 days. How much of that 100 million is gone?
Half.
10%.
I know the answer, so I'm not going to say.
Right.
Go ahead,
so I'm
Mike.
looking at it right now. Hometown Heroes 2.0, they're calling it. Currently has 71 million available. So they've gone through 29 million in a week and 3 days.
12 days.
Reserved.
Ooh.
Reserved.
Yeah. So if you're looking
That's an
for,
evergreen program,
right.
though, right?
It's evergreen,
So-
but is it once a year? I think there's mystery around, like, how is it
are
going
they
to
going to
be
re-up it?
refunded?
And here,
Because they're going to, this 100 million's not, it's probably 2-3 months, Jim.
and a lot of the buyer,
Based
a lot
on the
of
numbers we've seen, now you're not lasting that long.
There was
brother.
a big, like, there were people who were waiting, myself included. I had people waiting for them to open up the program on the 3rd. The reserving. It doesn't mean people weren't in contract. They didn't have it going. It's just, so there was definitely, I think the first day, I mean, it was a huge number of reservations the first day. So
Yeah.
I'm very impressed that the system held up, right? I was
didn't
kind of
crash.
expecting, this is a state run thing, but they've got a lot of experience. The DPA, Florida Housing, the organization has been doing this for a long time, but I'm very impressed that they didn't have technical difficulties. You remember when, like, Obamacare first came on, or whatever it's called, with the official name, the American,
Right. It was a mess.
it was like the system broke.
Right.
So
Do they extrapolate the numbers? How many of this now 30 million that's gone actually went to like the originally intended, the Hometown Heroes? Do they extrapolate those numbers,
Oh,
or is
that's
it
what
just
Mike
all
was
wiped
saying.
out?
I mean, I don't know, but it's got to be a small percentage.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's got to
can't
be a small
imagine most of that's
percentage.
used by just us.
A week
I
and a
agree with
half,
you.
a third of it's gone, and it lasted the whole year.
And it wasn't
last
really
year.
built.
And it wasn't a secret last year. Like,
Yeah, it
there was
wasn't.
a big push for Hometown Heroes last year because it was a great program. And the big push last year was that they expanded the amount of professions, right? It wasn't just police, fire, frontline workers. They expanded it to a lot of people. And we
professions
talked
or
about it. We're like, listen, chiropractors were included, right? Like, it was really, really good. Don't get disheartened, because there are still down payment assistance programs that aren't the Hometown Heroes $100 million. So if they don't re-up it throughout the year, there's still other programs. It's not like as good as this one. This one's really attractive because it's a big chunk. It's 5% of your loan amount, and the rates are favorable. But there's other ones that are like the $10,000 one, which are still going to have money.
Do you bring this up in all of your new loan application processes?
I am absolutely assessing it. I only mention it as an option for people who I know are eligible, because there's income limits, and you have to be a first-time home buyer. So,
and you've learned the nuances of it.
I know enough to know to say, hey, this is something you should think about or maybe take a look at. Some people absolutely need it.
Right.
And the thing is, like, some people don't need it.
Right.
Johnny, they got enough money, but who's not? Free money? Yes, there's a string attached. Yes, you might have to repay it. Probably likely have to repay it at some point.
But might get a better rate.
You get a better rate. You don't have to, it's like borrow money now, 0 interest.
Well, it's super incentive. I get a better rate and I get a bunch of money that I
might be a little bit salty if I was a hometown hero, right? The profession. I might be like, well, wait a second. I can't do it now, but it's 6 months. It was going to be my time and there might not be any money. So I can see that perspective, and maybe that incentivizes for something that's truly directed towards the hometown heroes again.
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, it's been a whirlwind.
Great response, though.
Great response. They're using up a lot of money. We'll see if that starts to slow down. And I'm hoping to have some mechanism for refunding it.
I hope so
for refunding it.
I hope so too.
A lot of loans at now almost 7% interest rates.
Yeah.
Although I wanted to talk. Can I talk about the rates on this? Do we have time for that?
The music's going, but what we can say is, go ahead, Mike. Just super fast. It's going down a little bit, even though we hit high.
Like last week. So on Monday, it started out. I'll just use the FHA version of Hometown Heroes. It started out 6.5%. By Thursday, it was Wednesday, it was like 6.625. This is last week. Thursday, 7%. Friday, 7%. Now down to 6.75.
Woo!
So
you want pros? You
Yeah.
got people in the trenches every day at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com on Facebook, YouTube. Know it, use it, love it, and share it. You need pros when you're buying and selling. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com has you covered. We're back next Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. And Locker Room's coming up next. Thanks for being with us. Florida Talk Real Estate right here, Real Radio.